So our presenter today is Connor Hughes. Connor is a highly accomplished master's qualified consultant with over 20 years of experience in the information technology industry. His career began in technology recruitment and later transitioned into technology consulting. For the past 5 years, Connor has excelled at Microsoft, where he has held various roles in sales specialization, including business applications, data, and AI. Currently serving as a modern workplace specialist, Connor is dedicated to supporting organizations in their creation and inclusive use of accessible environments that empower their employees to excel. With the era of AI upon us, Connor is excited to see how AI will empower the future work. Can we make Connor feel welcome, please, with some reactions? And I'll hand it over to Connor. Thank you very much, Connor.
Thank you, Fabio. Hello all. Yes, as Fabio said, my name is Connor Hughes. I'm a modern work specialist here at Microsoft. I generally support some of the, if we can have people on mute, some of the larger clients in town, but I'm excited to be here to kind of take you through Copilot and Copilot for M365. So we do have about an hour and a half. My plan is to probably spend about 45 to 50 minutes going through some of very much the kind of introductory use of Copilot. I'm going to start with Copilot Chat. So that's essentially the, it's not necessarily free. It comes with your Microsoft license, so everyone in the organization should have access to it, give you some ideas of how you can leverage that. And then move into the Copilot for M365 applications like Word, Outlook, PowerPoint, and stuff like that. So to give you some basic ideas on how it can improve your productivity. As Fabio said, put questions in the chat. If he thinks there's something that needs answering right there and then, I'm happy to kind of pivot. If not, we can kind of get them at the end. But I hope it gives you value. So let me start by sharing my M365 Copilot app. So this is essentially, if you don't have access to it, this should be rolling out soon. It's part of our kind of April Wave 2 announcements. So you'll see it's essentially very similar to what you'll find on the web, on your browser, or what you would find in your Teams chat. And you'll see here on the left-hand pane, this kind of search, which will go across your organization. You'll have agents coming through. These are all the past chats and conversations I had, and etc. So as I said, I'm going to start here with the kind of web tab. So if you don't have a Copilot for M365 license, you will not see the work in the web. You'll just have this view. And essentially, it's very similar to ChatGPT, but this is very much an approved work format. You'll see up here, you've got enterprise data protection, which applies to this chat. And that means that anything that I ask Copilot, it's not training the model, it's not leaving my organization, it's all protected internally. And so if I feed it a document, that document is not being shared externally than the organization with Microsoft or with any model training. So essentially, it's a kind of corporate approved Copilot or ChatGPT model. So one of the ways I think is that to start to get people to use this more is why it's very different to Googling something is to be kind of more abstract in terms of what you're doing. If you think you're trying to answer a question in Google, sometimes you'll have to do a bit of research yourself, whereas you can use generative AI to answer your questions. So one way I kind of like to do this would be to kind of ask it silly questions to give you an idea of how many elephants can fit into Optus Stadium. You can see even my spelling came across. So you can see here what Copilot has done is that it's identified the kind of capacity of what Optus Stadium has. It's averaged out the kind of capacity of what an elephant is, and then it's taken that and it's done a lot of the maths for you, and it's giving you the kind of answer. So around 2,145 elephants could theoretically fit onto the field in Optus Stadium if they were standing still and packed efficiently which of course wouldn't be simple. So the next kind of way of going, well, great. How would you suggest I get them off the boat and in Fremantle and to the stadium? And so what it's doing now is it's using its kind of reasoning engine. And this is something that you can't simply do within a Google chat, is to kind of have this reasoning question, and it's thinking hypothetically about what it could do, the kind of arrival at Fremantle Port, the transport options to Optus Stadium. It says about 20 kilometers. So you could kind of parade them. You could get them on flatbed trucks. There's a rail option. There's a helicopter lift that you could kind of do it. And then obviously arrival and staging. So what I could do then is get it go, great. It's kind of thought about it because, you know, can you create me a project plan to do this? Oh, as you can see, it's thinking. And very quickly, here's your whimsical project plan for transporting 2001 from Fremantle to Optus. And what it's done here is it's given it to me in an Excel spreadsheet. So let's open that. I've not done this before where it's given me an Excel spreadsheet. So this, as Fabio said when I said I'm doing this completely demo, there's no slides. It could go horribly wrong. It's pretty simple, but this is what it's given me here. So it's expected me prepare elephants for transport, about 2 weeks. What do we need from a resource perspective? Veterinarians, handlers, cargo ships, ensure they're all healthy. Elephants walk in slow moving parade, 4 to 6 hours. Handlers, safety escorts. Elephant riding customer build. So just a very playful example of how to use generative AI to kind of assist you. And so what I want you to start doing is how you're thinking about some of the problems that you approach day to day in work. How can you offset that by getting, you know, a generative AI to help you with the research, with the ideas of doing it? The biggest way to start thinking about is how you use it in your kind of home life. I currently was looking to go to Italy, and we were comparing cruise lines. So we were trying to go, hey, I'm in Italy. I can go anywhere around the space. There's a family of 13 of us. We're coming together. You know, which ones would you suggest and why? And then getting it to go in the detail and go, give me a table of the pros and cons and all this. And the amount of research that you would typically, the hours that you'd have to do to go to each single website, identify which cruise, identify how many people, identify the cost, when all of a sudden you can simply offset that tasks to generative AI and get it to do it. You need to just review it and go from there. So that's very much kind of different ways of how you can use it. If we're kind of pulling it back to a bit of a work example, you can still very much use it, although it's just a web version, to go, if you had to point it at a specific job description, I can go, I am applying a project manager role, and you create me a cover letter. Now, this is very much a high level with no context, but it gives you an idea of what you would want to do in a cover letter. Now, if you fed it the job description and if you fed it your CV, then again, what this would do is would be able to try and take the details off your CV, take the details off the job description, and create your cover letter by identifying what you have and how you'd be able to kick into that. So I think that kind of covers a little bit off about that kind of Copilot for web and how you can use that for some basic things. Now I've clicked the Work tab, and as I said, you need a Copilot for M365 license for this. This essentially has access to my Outlook, my emails, my calendar. It's got access to my OneDrive. It's got access to SharePoint and any files that I have access to. So it's only sites and files that I have access to in SharePoint. It doesn't have any access to anything more than I had before. It has access to our Teams chats, and it's got access to my meetings. So even the meetings, you can see Copilot here will give you some suggestions here in terms of, help me prepare for a meeting. But what I actually did yesterday was, you can see here was I did a follow-up email to one of my clients. So probably shouldn't do, given this is recorded, can I go back? But here is some, that was one example of where you can use Copilot to, let me just create a new one, see if I can find a quick internal one, where you can, as it says, help me create a follow-up email based on the meeting with, and then what I need to do here is find the meeting. You can see with Copilot chat here, it has access to my meetings, my emails. I can point it to a SharePoint site. But if I go to meetings, what it's going to do here is it's going to go back over the meetings I had. And obviously it's important that the meeting needs to be recorded, or the transcript needs to be turned on for me to do it. So I'm just trying to find, here's one. Now, this was a meeting we had with a client about updating it. So, hi Francis, thanks for coordinating the channel. I wanted to follow up as I didn't attend. From the agenda and prior convenience, I understand. So from this here now, I can then take this email and create it. So this is a quick way of looking at content that you had before. It's looking at the transcription and it's based off that one. With that, if I actually end this, and if I show you my actual teams, here we are. You can see here that if I go back into my calendar, I'm trying to find, this was an internal get together. Not that one. Here we go. You can see if I open this, it gives me a summary. And if I open up the recap, so I have to keep opening things, opening and closing. This is a recap from an internal meeting that we had, which goes through, it shows you the overall, it gives you a bit of a recap on the meeting, what was discussed, tells you who was speaking and what the subjects were. So you can kind of go through, there's the AI notes from it. Was I mentioned? We didn't find any mention of you. Here's the actual transcript, which unfortunately didn't go wrong. But very quickly, if I miss this meeting, I can look at the summary, I can find out what's going on. And even if I wanted to, I can ask Copilot, were there any unanswered questions? You can see my spelling is atrocious. And then it will go through the transcript and identify places where there were, yes, there were several questions raised during the meeting, which were not directed. Here are some of them, and it goes through that. So if it's a meeting that you were responsible for, that you wanted to see, and if you had a team of members that were on it, you could then go back to your team and go, hey, why were these questions not answered? Can we go back and make sure that the client's happy? So that's some of the cool features about pulling into the teams. Now let me go back up here and show you some other ways. So here's a quick prompt that I did in terms of if you're preparing for a meeting, if you're a manager and all of a sudden you've got a meeting with a potential candidate that you're looking to hire. Not sure why this isn't working. Let me see if I can copy it. So that should pop up. Oh, here we are. And so what I can do here is then I can copy in the file and go, can you create me a quick 100-word bio based on Megan's CV? That works. And then I can go, can you give me 5 interesting questions to to ask. So now what I've done here is I've given it a CV of a potential candidate. It's given me a quick overview on who she is and what she's done. And now I've gone, okay, well, give me 5 questions so that when I go into the meeting, I'm at least prepared a bit more than I was beforehand. So you're using Copilot to kind of help you prepare for meetings that you might have been come through. The next kind of iteration, what I'm going to show is supporting. Oh, sorry. Thanks, Loveland. Keep going. Let me go back. All right, I will do that one again. So, where are we? Provide the 100-word summary on, and then if I copy in the CV, Megan, just uploading the CV. And you can see how quickly it's, Megan's a season-based business leader, strong background in business. She's worked over 53 years. So you can see there, alliance with Microsoft, IBM's. And then I've asked it, provide me 5 interesting questions to ask. And now it's asked me the questions to ask. Here you go. So based on the CV, it's giving me questions that I can ask her that maybe I didn't think of before. And so the next one is what I'm going to use here is I've got a bit of a specifications for an e-bike. And so what I wanted to do then is ask it to come up with some key taglines based on the specification document. Let's see how that does it. And so Copilot and kind of generative AI can be great for thinking and giving you different perspectives of what you're doing. So, you know, it gives you that kind of diversity of thought that you may not have thought before. So from that perspective. And so what I can do now here is that I can continue the conversation with Copilot. So I've said, rather than copying and pasting number 2 from Commute to Adventure, Lisa Thunder, I've then gone back to it and I said, hey, I like the second tagline the most. Use it as a title and create a 300-word sales pitch based on what makes the Thunderbolt e-bike great. And so now all of a sudden, I'm going to have a 3-word kind of summary of what that is. So here we go. And now if it likes it, it's now looked at the document. It's given me suggestions. Would you like this pitch formatted into a brochure, slide deck, or social media post? So I can now take this and kind of build it into different types of commercial posts that you can kind of put out on the e-bike. What I'm going to do next is create a SWOT analysis based on, I'm just going to put in the presentation. If I do Thunderbolt, there we are, presentation, and Thunderbolt specifications, one doc. And so just so you know, if I press / here, it brings up this window where I can find people, files, meetings. And if here we go, Thunderbolt specifications. As I start to type the words, as these documents are indexed, it will pick them up and make suggestions for you that these are the ones that you're looking for. And then you can just ping them in. So what I'm doing here is asking Copilot to help me with a SWOT analysis based on the presentation and the document. And so it gives me this: strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats. And here you go, it's based on the documents. What I could even potentially, I've not done this before, but while we're here, let's not try it, is I can go using the external information based on current e-bikes on the market. How would our bike compare? And so what it's going to do now is it's going to go off to the web and look at current e-bikes and suggest what the kind of how our product is comparing to them. So you can see here, it's gone down in detail in terms of separating the performance and power, design and build, battery and charging. So it's gone off some of the best ones in the market, Segway, Ride 1, technologies and features. And so if you're someone in that kind of product development and looking for, well, where do we stand and where should we be and where do we think, we're using generative AI to use the kind of knowledge that's out in the web to very quickly come back and compare our prices. And it's gone very much in detail. And I've not given it a lot of context other than the documents, and it's kind of very much gone down and suggested where we are and what we're doing. So there's a lot of work that's gone in that I've basically been able to do within 5 minutes by feeding the internal documents that we've got. So one other quick one, which is a great way thing, is that this is just a one where if you know, one of the biggest things at the moment that you'll find, I'm sure, is that you just get swamped with information. So sometimes you'll have a conversation and you're going, you know, where's that information? Was it in a chat? Was it in a meeting that we had it? Was it an email? And so, but sometimes you know it. And so what I've just asked here is that, you know, what are the milestones for Project Falcon? I know that I'm working on a Project Falcon. I know there's milestones. And so what it's done here is that it's gone off and it's found a couple of projects. It's found the project and it's giving me the information. And so it's then showed me the file that I'm talking to, and it's then listed. And so it saved me opening this document and finding it, and it's pulled it out from that. So that's a very cool way of finding information. I've often done it where you're kind of thinking of what you're doing. I remember asking the question because, oh, I couldn't find this in an email. I said, can you check my Teams chats? And it went through my Teams chat and it found the information. So because Copilot has access to your email, your calendar, your SharePoint, your OneDrive, your chats, it's great for finding that information quickly whenever you can't find it. And then what I wanted to do is to show you, Copilot's great from languages. So I don't know if many of you work with other language organizations, different languages or stuff like that. But here, what I've done here is I've given it, I've asked it, you know, summarize this document. And what I've fed it is a French a document that's all in a different language. And what it's basically done then is it's summarized it and it's given it to me back in English. If you are someone that's in Australia and it speaks a different language, if you talk to Copilot in your language, so if I asked it in French, it would respond to me in French, or if I do it in Spain, in Spanish, it would give it back to me. So whatever language you communicate to Copilot in, it will respond to you in that language. So that's always such a very cool feature if you especially come from that. Now, this is a cool feature of what I really like, which is what I'm doing here is that I'm feeding it two different documents. Bring it up. Let me just pull it in instead. There we are. Refer to. Is it going to work here? Structure finance, right? Yeah. Okay. So what I'm basically doing here is I'm giving it two documents. One are customer profiles of customers that we've talked to based on their kind of financial history. I'll show you now. And then this second document are structured financial products and investments. There we got on there. So let me very quickly pivot to show you what these look like so you're aware before I hit go. So here you can see here we've got the financial products. So these are kind of equity, risk level, products risk level, you know, the kind of suitability of age, the cost of what it is, and the minimum terms of investment. So this gives you different ideas of different investments. And what we have here is we have a list of customers, their age, their investment type, amount of money, and minimum lock-in, kind of that perspective. And what I want Copilot to do is I'm going to give it these two documents and I'm going to say, take the people, go back to the right one now, I wanted to say, based on the customer profiles that we got and based on the financial products, can you suggest to me which products would suit which people? So again, to save me going through every person and identifying it. And so what you can see here is it's gone through. It's Alice.
Well, it's not my company.
Should be age 35. This is a risk appetite, so therefore the recommendation should be bond and index funds, all the way down to Diana, who recommended again bond or money market, etc. And so what you can do is, would you like a summary, export into a table or document, and say, yeah, yes, put it into a table, please. And so it'll do that. Tidy up this. And what I'm going to start to type is, can you give me an email send to Alice and to invite her to invest. So here you can see now it's now created me a table. I'll open that in a sec. Show you what that spat out. I'm sure it would be pretty good in Word. But what I'm here is now I've asked, can you create me an email to send Alice to invest? And so what this is going to do now is obviously it's going to go back up to the chat. Where is Alice? So Alice is 35, investment for the minimum lock-in. So it's going to suggest to her bonds or index funds. And so here now all of a sudden we've got an email, a tailored investment opportunity for you as a subject. Pleasure connecting with you. Given a low risk outlook, this is what we're suggesting. I'll let you walk through these options in more detail. And then you can see it's even pulled in my title, even though it's nothing to do with me. So all of a sudden, we've very much gotten from, I'm not going to show you that document, it was pretty rubbish. But all of a sudden you can see we've gotten from two documents, a list of customers, a list of opportunity investments, and we've got Copilot to go through, make suggestions, and then very quickly got it to suggest which products will go in each of them one. And that's pretty much it for Copilot chat. But I hope that gives people a bit of an idea of what you can do there. Fabi, any good questions, or will I move on?
We had a question with the difference between ChatGPT Professional and Copilot. So, what are the advantages and disadvantages of each? Yep. I don't know if that's something you want to answer a bit later on after a few more of your demos, but yeah.
I can very quickly. So Copilot chat, the big things you got to understand with Copilot chat will sometimes not be as detailed as ChatGPT. ChatGPT is a consumer product and therefore it has less restrictions. When Microsoft builds Copilot chat, we make sure that it has built-in restrictions ready for it, and therefore it has little limitations. We are looking to build parity by July 30 and to go on in terms of being a fast follower. So whatever models ChatGPT runs on, we will very much run very similar, but within about 60 days. So you have ChatGPT is very much a consumer product, whereas ours is very much Copilot chat that you use it within a business will have those kind of restrictions and that are made more for an organization. So you can't ask it certain questions and stuff like that. But from a model perspective, it should be quite similar. I hope that helps.
Yeah. Would it also have, would Copilot have better access to your internal documents in SharePoint rather than
Copilot
the ChatGPT
for M365
will
have access to your what we call the Graph API, and the Graph is essentially a database that sits below all your emails, all your chats, all your documents. So it has access to all that, so it can better understand who you are. And as you can see, when I press that / it has access to emails and chats and people, so I can put in the name and do that. ChatGPT, unless you open it up to your organization, I'm not sure if you want to do that, but that's up to you, then that's what the difference is. But from that kind of perspective, a lot of customers won't do that, and therefore that's why kind of Copilot will have that enterprise data security, but then also it'll have access to your Graph API and etc.
I've also noticed that you can ask Copilot a question that the answer is only in a document in SharePoint. So,
Yep.
you know, like one of our customers had an uninterruptible power supply. I wanted to know what the status of that was. The only place that information is in a document in SharePoint. I asked Copilot that question on my mobile phone. It gives me the answer and gives me a link to the document. So on my mobile phone, I could pull up that Word document that had more details in it. So,
Yep.
you know, for me to do that any other way would have required me starting the computer, logging in, and going to that document. So yeah, and I could literally do it whilst walking along. So that's quite interesting. So the other question we had was identifying duplicate files and highlighting the difference between the two files, or producing a report or something. I think someone's probably got some deduplication issues within their SharePoint, which is actually a big problem for a lot of customers that we see when they've got multiple multiple versions of files and stuff like that, and trying to get that down. Is there anything Copilot can help with that?
It can certainly, if you feed it 2, 3, 4 documents, it can certainly build your table on what the differences are. It will be able to do that, but it's not really built for going across and, you know, find duplicate documents across your environment. But I've never tried it, but you could certainly feed it a document and go, can you find other documents that are very similar to this one in our SharePoint environment and where they're located? But yeah, I suppose it's not what the tool is built for.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, that's it.
Let me jump into some of the products. Now, I will do Outlook now. This may look a little different to others, but this is my Outlook. This is the new Outlook. If you're not using it currently, I would recommend it. It does take a bit of getting used to. We have a number of customers who are really hanging on to classic Outlook. But you can see here how I've kind of set it up, my emails and stuff. Now, there's a few things I'm not going to spend a lot of time in Copilot and Outlook. I don't use it a lot. I think if you spend a lot of time in email, you'll get a lot more from it. But here you can see across every email is this summary button. So very quickly, this is an external email, so I'm okay to press summarize on this. And so what it will do is it'll look across it, and it basically gives me a quick summary of what this is. So this is an invitation for me to connect with an overseas mentee who I'll mentor for the next 12 weeks. And it gives you a summary. The mentorship consists of 12 sessions, contains students receive an email, etc. So this, you know, with a short email like this, it's not very useful. It's very good if, just trying to see here, you can see here, this particular email I have has a lot of forward and backwards. So this one might make sense that if I just, it's not giving me the button, of course, that would be typical. See, this one has got Copilot summary. This one doesn't, but that's typical. And then obviously you have it here in calendar, but where I find it, obviously what you can do then is you can draft emails. So if I draft one to Fabio as a test and go, or even a Tisset, you can click the button here and you're going to go, what do I want? A short and friendly message, request information, give update, announcement, create newsletter. And what I can do is go, thank Fabio for the invitation to the webinar, and suggest times to catch up next week. And then see what it says. And then so what I can do down here is I can make it longer, make it shorter. I can change the tone. So if I want to, you know, make it more direct, casual, formal, or I can make it a poem as a bit of fun. Here we go. So, oh, hold on, back to Copilot. So let's keep that one. It says, there we go. in the light of the webinar's glow, I send my thanks just so you know. So you've now got a poem. A lot of people kind of go, well, how useful is email a poem? But we have had a client who on a Friday has to send out a lovely email to everyone to update their timesheets. And so what she now does is she now creates a poem based on current events and what's going on. So at least then when you get an email to, hey, fill in your timesheet, it's a bit more lighthearted. So this is great in terms of if you're providing structured ones. We've also had feedback from some people around a CEO who will obviously send out emails and they thought his tone was changing. He was getting a lot more positive, and that was because he was getting Copilot to write his emails for him rather than him, blurting out what things were going on. But what I really like about Copilot in Word is setting up meetings. Can you find time for me to have a one-on-one with, and then if I suggest the person, if I say Francois, what for 1 hour. What this will do now is it'll go into my calendar, it'll go into Francois's calendar, and it'll find a gap. Okay, you can go to the Outlook review. It's meant to do it. So I am in Outlook. Thank you very much. So that's what should show me availability for next week. See if that works. Here we go. So this is giving my availability next week. That's really what my calendar is. But let me try it. Okay, that didn't want my whole week on that. Thank you very much. So let me try it here. And again, can you next week? Let's see if it works. You can kind of, okay, it's decided not going to work for me as demo gods aren't with me today. So let's move on from there. Let's jump into Word. Oh yeah, right. So Word, if you're spending a lot of words in documents, obviously it's great at creating them. Let me just hope it stops. But what I've done here is I've picked out a massive document. So it's 113 pages, 53,000 words. It's an independent review of the EPC Act. Obviously, what Copilot will naturally do is it'll give you a view. So this is a review. This gives you a quick summary of what the document's about, so you can quickly get across it. Now, this is if you just want quickly to do it. Where the power of Copilot and large documents really come in is interrogating documents. Obviously, just doing a quick review isn't much use. I'm quickly going to pump this. You can see up here is a listen. So this is a new feature that's just coming out, but it's what it will do here is obviously if you have a large document you have to get across. Did that work? No. You can now hit this button to create a podcast, and what it will do is it will create a podcast based on the document, but it's not about people reading out. It's two people having a discussion about the document, but it's just a really easy way of consuming a document. But if you've got learning that you've got to get across, rather than you mundaning over a document, you can now create an audio overview of the document that then it'll create you an MP3. You can download it into your OneDrive and you can listen to it at another time. So I'll let that go. As you can see here, we have summarized the document. Hopefully it can click that audio review quickly before it goes through. But you can see here lots of information about it. Let me just stop this. We can do that later. But what you can do is you can kind of go, hey, what's the purpose of this document? And so it gives a good national environment standards designed to set clear outcomes for natural matters. What are the proposed changes that goes through? And you can ask things like, what are the recommended next steps from this document? based on the review, what does it suggest should happen? So it goes through the document, recommended next steps, or immediate reforms, second transfer reforms, and then these steps aim to modernize the EPC tax. So I don't know anything about this, but this was just a large document that I found on one of WA government websites that I wanted to kind of be able to show how you can use it. One, to summarize, but obviously that's not going to get you across that you've read it. But what most people will do is when they're looking at a document, they will want to interrogate it and they will want to look at it to understand what it's doing and what it's saying. So from that perspective, I thought that's a very cool way of showing what you can do with Word. Obviously, we can go and kind of create a new document. Let me open that one. And from here, what we can do is, it's given me a suggestion here of, you can see now, based on 2 of the applications that I've used recently. So it's identified that I've opened the EPBC Act, it's identified the structural financial products investments. Okay. I'm not sure if you can you hear that? Have you? No?
No, I can't hear it.
Okay, it's fine. All right. The podcast is going in the background.
Oh, is it? Okay.
I was wondering if you. So I'll go back to that in a sec. But here, in terms of what you're doing, is you can describe what you want to write. But so what I wanted to show here is that this is again showing that Copilot knows what you're working on and it's giving you suggestions very quickly. So here's to produce a summary of a structural financial products. So I can very much do that. It's going to feed the document in it, and then very much it's going to create me a draft. The one thing I wanted to show here too is you can see up the top, it's created a sensitivity label. And so what Copilot will do is, based on the documents that you feed into it or the content you feed it, it will automatically prioritize the highest security level. So if you're leveraging kind of things internally around that kind of labeling of documents, so if you sensitivity labeling, Copilot will inherit that. So a lot of people are worried that if I create a document based off a sensitive document, that I have to go and create the sensitivity label. Copilot will automatically inherit that. So you can see here, it's kind of created a document summary of the structural investment. It's given me some basic things, but down the bottom, you can see it gives me opportunities to keep it, regenerate it, or if I stop it, or for example, I can go, can you make it longer? And give it and see what it says. So now it's going to kind of build it out a bit more based on what I asked. And then conclusion. So I'll keep this. So what I can then do now on the document is that I can get suggested things like I can auto write it, I can get coaching on it, or I can, rather than visualize the tables, I can go, can you put it into bullet points? So it can help me with the formatting of the document from that perspective. And now what it's done is it's taken this paragraph and it's built it into bullet points. I can go, will I keep it, or will I want to replace it? So it removes what was there previously, and now all of a sudden I've taken that paragraph and I've put it into the bullet points. So some very quick and easy ways of how to help you with the documents. And let me show you that fun thing that I had earlier. Where are we going back to?
To me, that's one of the most used things I do, is write a sentence and then get 3 suggestions. It's I find that so useful.
So here's the I didn't press the right button. If I click share, include sound. Oh, it's not letting me use sound. Okay. Anyway, right, we'll skip that one. I was hoping to show you the fact that this EPCM created me a 15-minute podcast, so I can now learn all about the EPC Act in more of a podcast format. Okay, so let's move on. I've got 2 more applications to kind of go through. So what I'll do here is we will jump into PowerPoint. I've got a blank presentation. Yeah. Okay. Let me just move that over here so I can see it a bit better. So what I can do now with this presentation, and the great thing about a presentation is you can feed it documents. So if you're kind of working on a business case, you can feed it a business case that you've been working on or writing. Create a presentation about, but if I then give it, where's the Thunderbolt? Thunderbolt. So if I give it the Thunderbolt specifications document, let's see what it comes up with. So it's going to leverage the words in it. It's going to leverage the images that I've fed it. And from that perspective, then we're going to have a pretty cool. So here you can see as it's going through, it's suggesting titles over it. So you can see here's it is. So a bit of a product overview. We're going to have 2 slides. It gives me the opportunity to kind of move these around. So if I want the technical specifications before key features, I can do that. If I think the performance requirements, if I think quality is more important than performance, I can move that up. But there you can see it's kind of given me an idea of what my recommendation for this presentation should be based on the document. And now it's going to go and create the document for me.
All right. Okay. I just have the chat box. Sorry. I'm one of the.
This is where we should have background music.
The thing I like after this is then you can go through the design suggestions afterwards for each of the slides and tickle them up and choose different options.
Okay, it's taking a bit longer. It's having a good think. Almost there. It's giving us some comfort that we're almost done. Be really annoyed now if it doesn't work. Oh, here we go. So you can see it's filling out. So let me just change my view. Here we go. Normal view. Here we go. So you can see here we go. Thunderbolt e-bike specifications. It gives you the agenda. That's a strange image. It's done. I don't know why. Product overview, introduction. Again, not a good picture, I'll be honest. General product overview, tech specs. Now this one's a bit battery, motor, and speed. You can see it's picked up an image from that perspective. Weight range and frame. This is an image that's pulled out of the document. So wheel size, brakes, and gearing system. And as you can go through, it's got key features, power of electric systems, etc. But you can see here it's trying to pull images based into it, based on what it has before. It's obviously created an image here around quality control, objectives, and testing, which is pretty good. Testing environments and tools. It's been a bit more of a Microsoft testing environment. Bike on speed and range. But here you can see here, it's pulled out a decent ones. And I think even if you look, you'll see down below, what it's done at least is that it's pulled in the notes. So you've got your speaker notes based on what you're doing. So speed and range. So, you know, at least from the document, it's created the presentation and then it's giving you those speaker notes that go with the presentation from that perspective. And then you have the ability to kind of cut and paste and go from there. So that is PowerPoint. And then lastly, we will jump into Excel. So here's a bit of a simple Excel. It's not a massive one, but I wasn't sure. Copilot in Excel has gotten very powerful. We have now the ability to leverage Python and to do advanced analysis. But today I just wanted to do some of the basic things that you can do with it. So, you know, from this, so out of the box, you can kind of get some data insights. So what does it think about it? But then, you know, you got to think more in terms of a larger base of an Excel spreadsheet. You can, let's take a look. You can get it to kind of provide insights. There we go. It's great. So let's did it. What I wanted to do was I wanted to ask a question on the data. So how many campaign owners had over 100 users targeted, 1,000 users targeted? So it'll obviously go through here and it'll give me suggestions. So you can see here it's analyzing L13. It's going through the sample data, and it's giving me the answer. So it says distinct count of name 8. And what it will do is I can kind of add it to a new sheet where it is, but it gives me the idea of where it's getting the information from. I can then, you know, get it to do some highlighting. So I can kind of go, hey, why don't you highlight the top 5 revenues? So again, it'll go through, analyze it. Oh, it's gone a bit right me. Just think it's gonna be quieter on it. Shouldn't take this long. So give me that 5 revenues, should be pretty quick. Do I have any more Excel? This is a bit of an anticlimax, how long it's taken just to answer a simple question. Come on. All right, I'm solving that one. Okay, let me ask it another question. So let me ask it to see if it give me some column suggestions. And Anthony. And then we might come back to that one if it's a bit hard. But this is cool where you can get it to kind of go through, suggest columns, get them to add your columns, clean up the names, but somehow it's not behaving today, which has this mode. I might have to restart. Oh, here we go. It looks as if it's having a thing. Here we go. So it's giving me a suggestion of campaign success. So it determines whether a campaign was successful by comparing its revenue to its budget. Therefore, it's suggesting. And if I hover it over, you can see here on the right-hand side, I open this up a bit more, it's showing the column on the right-hand side. So from that perspective, I can go insert column. You can see that there. Let me just delete this one actually. And from that perspective, let me go back and see if I can do the handle revenues again. Seems to be working. See if I'll try that one more time to see if it works. But I think we're back to hit the hour, Fabio. I'll let that play. Oh, yes. There we go. So it's now worked this time. Sure, look at it, sample data. Here's one conditional formatting rule. And so I can then get it to apply it. And what it's going to do now is it's going to apply that conditional formatting on the revenues. So if you've got a large set of data that you want to kind of look over, you can get Copilot to highlight some of them and then go through, and it's now highlighted. So it's turned on that highlight for you. So the two things with Copilot and Excel is that if you're new to Excel and you don't really know how to do formulas, this is great because you can ask Copilot to help you with the formulas. If you're strong at Excel, you will understand what it can do and you can get it to do things a lot quicker for you, and even some of the high-level analysis as well. So I hope that was of use. So if there's questions, I'm happy to answer them.
I do have a question here that said, I note on some Copilot versions, they have an option for quick response or think deeper. is that an option in the Microsoft 365 version or the subscription version? So the Think Deeper part.
So Think Deeper, yes, it builds off a kind of a deep reasoning thing that ChatGPT has. So there's two things in the consumer version. So if I open up my, if I show you my web browser that I use for my kind of email and shopping, whatever, and if I open Copilot here, you'll see it looks different. And this is because it's the consumer version. It's not got the green tick. And you can see down here, it's got quick response or Think Deeper. So again, this I wouldn't recommend for putting your corporate data in because it will train the model, etc. Now, Think Deeper and deep reasoning is coming to Copilot for M365. We have released a what's called a researcher agent and an analyst agent. So I can show you here. So these will be rolling out to corporates very soon. Let me get the right chat. So if I go here, you will see if I opening this up, this is called researcher, which is the same perspective. And I can very quickly show you, here's an example of a deep reasoning or a researcher I did on a company. So I'd basically said, are you able to find information on bluestock.in and see if there's been issues around hiring? I mentioned before that I mentored people overseas. This was a question they had because they had an interview with this company and the company asked them to pay money for their certification and they weren't sure. So I asked researcher to go and do research on it. And you can see here the amount of research it's done on the company. This is a lot of information: legal, regulatory status, employee and customer feedback, comparison with industry norms, all in a table. And then it's giving me this kind of conclusion at the end. And then you can see here, these are it lists all the sources of where it's gotten that information. So about 12 different sources across. And so, yes, as I said before, you'll see in ChatGPT will be very much coming into for M365, but it may take between 30 and 60 days to catch up because we'll have to go through a lot more rigor to make sure the models are enterprise ready.
Awesome. If anyone's got any questions or comments, if they just raise their hand, we'll try and get to you. Remember to take yourself off mute. Anyone's got anything they'd particularly like to ask?
I've got one. I'm in real estate and I live on realestate.com.au. When I use Copilot to search for listings on realestate.com, it comes up with properties that transacted 6-12 months ago. It doesn't seem to be able to look at what is currently for sale. It's like it's got an old indexed database of what was on there.
Okay, might have a suggestion to try. I'm not sure if you have Copilot.
I do.
So what might be worth trying, if you can do, is, I didn't go into it this time, but what you might be able to do is to build an agent. So you might see up here, agents and chats. Where is it over here? Oh, I just need it here. Get it, create an agent. And so what you could do with this agent, sorry, I didn't get your name. I've closed the window, I didn't get your name who was doing it. And what you could do is you could point it at realestate.com. So here I want to do is, I'm here to help you with an agent. I would like to build an agent focused on, was it realestate.com you said?
Yeah, .com.au.
Yeah, properties on estate.com.au. So let's see how we go with this one. Because what this should do for you is it should index the website live. Great. Now let's turn on. Well, let's call it Property Finder. Yes.
Good.
Fine.
You okay?
Yep.
Okay, now let's refine the instructions. What do we want it to do? Yeah, help users find properties based on their preferences. Yes, that's fine. It should ask me 1 or 2 questions. Would you like any publicly accessible websites? Yes.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah.
I guess we're going to build an agent. Yep.
And let's see if it does. Nope. So let me test it so I can, hopefully it says, okay, you're ready to go. Have you got a question for me to test it? So here we go, property finder. Let me find, let me
find a property for sale. Yeah, yep.
Find a property sale in Wanneroo.
Wow.
Yep.
See what it says.
Yes. Yeah.
So I don't know
Absolutely.
if they're live, but
I don't know what's going on
I'll let you go and try and figure them out.
Okay, so it's the index. I've got to do an agent. Yep.
But that might work.
Absolutely.
For you. That's a great way
Thank
to do
you.
it. No worries. Kirsty.
When you were in the Word document before and using Copilot in there, will it do sums and check additions and documents
I think,
calculations?
but I think
within
now that you've
Copilot?
got, go ahead.
Somebody's mute.
Yes.
I think it's, hold on, let me mute Tony. So what I would recommend, Christy, is not to use Copilot in Word to do the sums, but use it in the chat feature, pull in the document and get Copilot to go, can you pull out all the, maths within this document, list them and validate the answers, and hopefully, and say, put it in a table. So what you want to do is go to this Word document, pull out the mathematical kind of equations that are in it, put them in a table and tell me if they are accurate or not. And then hopefully you'll be able to look at the Word document and you'll have a table of all the kind of equations and it will tell you if they're right or not.
Okay, so if they're already in a table format in there, it should be able to just do it straight up in there, or do you still, okay, cool.
Try it in there, yeah. If not, then try and Copilot Chat. Copilot Chat is kind of, it pulls for different things and it's got more AI, whereas you think Word, Copilot and Word is very wordy because it's based in the application, whereas Copilot Chat's great because it has multiple models it can pull from based on what you do.
So they're different. That's interesting.
Yeah, it was feedback that's given to the product team where a lot of people go, I go to Outlook and I try and do things, but it's very Outlook driven. And people like the idea of, I just want to go, just because it's there, I want to do things with it. So they're working on changing that perspective.
So I mainly use it in Teams. Is Teams the best place to just do your general stuff?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
And what you'll find is, but I was just going to say, what you'll find is that it will be intelligent about what you're doing. So if you say to it, create me an email, it should then create an icon at the bottom and goes, would you like to open Outlook to finish it? Or if you say, create me a table, it'll create you a table and go, would you like to continue in Excel? And it would suggest that, and you can open it up in Excel.
Fair enough. We got another hand up. Alexandria.
Hi, Connor. If we have a printed version of a PDF, which is like a printed of a printed of a printed version, it's not like a proper PDF. Can you still summarize the documents?
It will do its best. So it does have what's called OCR, which is object content recognition. But if you give it to Copilot Chat and say, can you pull out the words from this, it will try and do it for you. So go. Again, a lot of it will be based on the quality of the image and the words. But even if you take like the scribble I have on that, and take a photograph and put it through, it will try and understand what I'm writing, and and kind of create that. But it's worth trying, but it's not going to be amazing on the, as you fed it a Word document which has got perfect text.
Yeah. Another question that I have, for example, if we have an agreement in a different language, like for example Portuguese or Spanish, can you translate it to English?
Yes. Yep.
And it can be also a PDF, or needs to be
PDF is fine.
Words. Okay.
Yep. You just put it into Copilot chat and have a conversation with Copilot chat on it in English. And even though the document's in a different language, it'll give you the responses in English.
And translate the whole document.
Yeah.
Alrighty. Okay. Thank
So
you.
yes, so upload the documents into the chat and then interact with it. Recreate this in English, please, or something like that.
Correct. Yeah.
So if it's a PDF, I will, for example, using Nitro.
I think you can just upload the PDF and it'll give you a Word document in the end, or won't it?
Yep, it'll just give you a Word document, and if you want to turn the Word into a PDF later, then you can do that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I saw somebody else with a question, but that hand seems to have gone down.
Yeah, I got a question there, Fabio.
Yeah, go, Ken.
So, Con, I was hoping if you could highlight some of the implications of not having, the correct conditional access policy set up within your SharePoint, and things like sensitivity labels, and how that can kind of go a little bit awry if you give access to across, your whole organization.
Good question.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, the term I often use is MVG, which is minimal viable governance. And our recommendations for organizations are very rarely going to have everything perfect, especially the sprawl of data at the moment within SharePoint environments. We're having more and more companies come to us go, I'm running out of SharePoint space. How do I get more SharePoint space? But the idea would be with Copilot, you get coming in August, you'll get a product called SharePoint Advanced Management, and by leveraging that, it'll give you some reporting on oversharing. So you can run a report across your environment that will give you an idea of what documents you have and what SharePoint sites and who has access to them. So obviously you want to go to HR first, and you want to go to finance and make sure that only the finance team and only the HR team have access to those documents. And then certainly from a leadership perspective, and what they have access to. And again, using things like policies for data loss prevention and rights management are always important, but it's a matter of trying to do the quick wins and identifying what you want. But I've got a proliferation of some companies that are like, go ahead, let's find stuff. If we find it, then we can lock it down. And then I have other companies that are like, we're not doing anything AI until we lock everything down 100%. But then that kind of perspective is hard. So to me, it's about being in the middle, about being cautious about what you're doing, but being open. No company is going to be perfect and have everything locked down. It's just not realistic. So just be pragmatic as you go.
We've got another question here. Is Copilot compatible with a document storage system like FYI, FYI Docs? I would imagine that is. Michelle, do you want to expand on that?
It probably is and probably isn't. So Copilot does have graph connectors. So you have the ability to expand Copilot into other systems. Now, obviously, the ones that are currently, there are about 1,500 of them currently. Most of them are current systems like Confluence, ServiceNow, Jira, SAP, like some of the kind of bigger corporate ones. You have the opportunity then to kind of build a graph connector of going into other systems. So there's a sense of there are out of the box ones that we've already created. Some companies are building them that you could subscribe to them. So, but a lot of them, if it's a unique one, you may need to rely on that company to build a graph connector into Copilot, or other organizations may be able to kind of build a connector themselves. Oh, Kirsty, sorry.
I was just going to add to that. Our FYI, I'm not in the same organisation as Michaela, it's all based in SharePoint. So you wouldn't go down that route for us, and I'm not sure how that would be for them, but you'd just be operating it straight in SharePoint rather than in FYI. So that
thank you for that.
Answer.
And if you want to go back to that agent that I created earlier on an external website, you can create an internal agent on a SharePoint site. So if you've got a few SharePoint sites that you as a department use, go and create an agent and just input those SharePoint sites that you want. And therefore, you're essentially grounding the chat in those sites and those files. So you'll get a more specific answer based on the content that you've provided it, rather than asking it a general question around the whole environment that you have access to.
Any other questions? Don't be shy, last chance.
Going.
Took me a lot to rope Connor in.
Alexandra's back. Shoot.
Go, Alexandria.
Oh, it's me. Sorry.
Oh, yeah.
A quick one in Excel. If I have, for example, exported a report about the sales for 12 months, can he create, in terms of data analysis, can he create a chart per month with the sales? And if I have different tabs in that spreadsheet, can he also create an analysis in terms, for example, if I have sales and costs of sales in a different tab, can he create relationship between the sales and the cost of sales?
Yes.
So he will be able to create different, with different tabs, he can create just in one tab my data analysis.
It can go across different sheets. So if I show you here, I'm trying to think. It's given me. So you can see here about sales by product, prices, reviews, existing customers. I can ask it, to perform forecasting. So what I can even do here is create analysis based on the sales by product, based on the prices of the product. I can forecast potential future revenue. Oh, I just realized I've shared the whole monitor with you. Difficult. Nope, wrong one. Too many things open. So here you can see now it's created an extra sheet called analysis. So it's got sales by product. I didn't create it, Copilot's done this. And so what you can see here, it's using advanced analysis. Here's what I'm loading in A6 to run analysis. It goes down to the detail of what it's doing. It's inserted a load data from sales 1, product table 1, forecasting future sales using ARIMA model. And therefore, the model forecasted the next 10 periods of sales. Predicted values started at approximately 1,931 units and gradually decreased to 1,050. Let me know if you need further analysis. So it's basically working across tabs to kind of do that for you.
Mm-hmm.
And
what
it
about
gives you all the... Go for it.
What about if we have different Excel files? Can he also do a relationship between the data of the two files, or?
Not in Excel. What will be coming shortly to you, what we have access to, is if I go back here, you can see I've got the researcher one. I now have an analyst one. And so what you could do here is you could feed it the two. Once this agent is available to you, you could feed it Let me see if I can feed it. You can feed it two spreadsheets essentially and ask it questions. You can feed it the 2 spreadsheets and ask it questions, and it will rationalize across the 2 of them. So that will be coming shortly.
Okay, for example, I'm thinking about if I have a financial model which is comprised by several tabs, and then it builds the financial model based in the market prices of some commodities, for example, gold, which the source is some sort of a website which forecasted the gold price for the next 10 years. Can I ask it to compare the gold price forecasted for 10 years inside the financial model with the website, for example, or a PDF that has been provided to me, for example?
You could do it in that. You could even potentially try that now in Copilot Chat by giving it the spreadsheet and then pointing to the external website or giving it a recommendation on the gold prices, and giving it. If you give it the website, you'll get a more accurate response rather than getting it to kind of go and search and find a gold product spot. The analyst agent will be a lot more powerful when it's released because it's based on another large language model that's made specifically for this deep learning and deep analytical thinking.
Okay, sounds great. Thank you.
No problems.
Connor, there's a question there in the chat from Nathan. If you wouldn't mind having a read of it. Nathan, do you want to actually ask it?
Any material that we create as a business in Copilot AI from an enterprise standpoint, who owns the data? You own the data. Always you own the data. Does it belong to the business? Yes. Yep. Microsoft can't even see it.
Okay, excellent.
Yeah. You'll see that there is a Copilot copyright protection. If you search for that on the web, it will have that, and it basically lists the fact that whatever you create and do, you own and you're responsible for. We're basically a platform company. We provide you the platform to do it, but you own the outcome.
Yep, very good.
Great question, by the way. Awesome question. Only a few minutes left now, as I'm being told by the automated facilitator here. So is there any last questions? Oh, Sean, jump in and ask it, please, mate.
Sorry, thanks, Fabio. Connor, can you just confirm if you do get results out of whatever you've asked or generated, that it's back on the person who's asked that information or generated it, to check that information is actually true and correct? I guess from a user's point of view, if they had all this information generated and didn't fact check it and then used it out in the public for whatever purpose, and that it had mistakes in it, that would also come back on the person who's generated that information.
100%. Yeah, you'll often seen any time with using Copilot, it'll always say that AI has a tendency to be incorrect. Double check it. Even if you're feeding it kind of perfect documents, people are getting slack. But I think I said it at the 2 weeks ago at the conference. I goes, when you're using it, treat it as an intern into your company. Like you would give it tasks and jobs to do. They may be very smart interns and they would go off and do things and create a report for you. You'd ask them to file the references. But again, it is still up to you, as you would with an intern, to go and validate the work before you submit it to your manager to go, oh, here you go. Otherwise, why not? Why would they not just hire the intern and not you? So you're ultimately responsible for what you produce. It's a tool to help you, get you 80% there, get you the information, provide you the references where I got the information, but it's still up to you to go and validate where the information came from and if it's accurate.
Great question, Sean. Okay, well, look, I think we should wrap it up. So thank you, Connor, for your very insightful look into the world of AI and how it's going to change the way we work. if you're interested in getting a Copilot license activated in your tenancy in Microsoft 365, then if you're a current Qbit customer, then reach out to your account manager and they will talk you through that, the security things that have been brought up by Kane and the cost of the licenses, etc. If you're not a Qbit customer, then feel free to reach out to myself. You can just ring the Qbit main number and ask for me, or I'll put my details in the chat here as well. So feel free to reach out to me and I'll put you in touch with somebody who can help you out with that. We have created a feedback form. Jen, can you drop the link to that in the chat? I should have had that here. We'd really appreciate if you can fill out the feedback form for us. It just lets us know, how we're going, what other topics you may be interested in, etc. It'll literally take you a minute to do. So if you could do that, we'd really appreciate that. Other than that, thank you for attending the webinar, and thank you very much to Connor for your time and effort of putting it all together and showing us through Copilot. I still think that most of us here have our training wheels on, so it's great to have you show us around. Did you have a question, Monet, or was that? No, okay, no worries. Thank you, everybody.
Start for whatever genius put React right beside raise your hand needs firing. We're working on that. Sorry.
Oh, no, somebody else.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, no worries. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your day.
See
Thanks,
ya.
Connor. Bye.
Thanks, Emma.